So I just came back from the 10-day Vipassana retreat earlier this week, and I'm really excited to make this video to share my experience there, and I'm even more excited to share all of the insights that I learned because these were some really profound things that I didn't expect to be a part of my experience there. But yeah, I was so amazed. Like every single day my mind was just expanded, and I have so much that I want to share. I don't know if I'll get through all of it in this video because I do plan to make follow-up videos going more in depth into some of these insights. But yeah, okay, so first of all, what is the Vipassana retreat? So the most standard one is like a 10-day course where it's basically like a silent meditation retreat, and you're there to learn a specific meditation technique called Vipassana. And the word Vipassana itself means to see things as they are. So the idea of this technique is to just observe reality the way that it is. Yeah, so I'll kind of go through the the structure of the 10 days. So the first 3 days of the retreat, you're learning this technique called Anapana, which is focused on developing the faculty for you to actually practice Vipassana effectively. And from day 4 to day 9, 10, you're spending all of that time actually doing the Vipassana meditation. And then on the last day, you kind of learn this other meditation called Metta, which is focused on loving kindness. And yeah, and just going through some of the I guess rules for this retreat. So it is a silent retreat, so there's no talking with any of the other participants. And the main reason for this is because if you do talk, it's kind of gonna mess with your meditation, because you might start comparing and expecting something that someone else is experiencing, and that's not what you're trying to do. Everyone has their own unique individual experience and reality that's going to take place for them within their body. So the whole purpose is to observe the reality within the framework of your own body, and to what's true for you is not going to be true for someone else, and same with vice versa. What someone else is experiencing within their body is not going to necessarily be your reality. And so you really want to just focus on your own reality, because that is the reality for you, right? So yeah, okay, so there's no talking, and then there's also no, I think it's a given that there's no phone usage or any sort of communication with the outside world. So on the first day, you hand in your cell phone and they just lock it away. You also can't read, so you can't bring any books to read. You can't write anything, so you can't journal while you're there. So honestly, my memory is kind of not super clear, because I feel each day I absorbed so much and experienced so much that by the next day I kind of have new information that I'm taking in, and kind of forgot some of the stuff from the previous day because I never documented it. But yeah, I think it is all there in my subconscious. I think for the most part, the important stuff is there, and I'm gonna share that in this video. Yeah, and then what else? And then the men and women are completely separated in this retreat. So I never saw any of the men again until the last day. And yeah. Oh, and there's also so the schedule is you wake up at 4 a.m. and then you meditate all day. And then there is breakfast at 6:30 and then lunch at 11 a.m. But there's no dinner. So if you're a new student, you're allowed to have a snack at around 5 p.m. But if you're a returning student, you're not allowed to have that snack. So yeah, honestly, I thought I would have a hard time with the no dinner thing, because I'm someone who cannot sleep if I'm hungry, but it was fine. I was fine. I adjusted pretty easily, and same with everyone else I talked to, they were all fine with the no dinner thing. So, and what else? Yeah, I think that's the main thing. I'm not gonna go too in depth about the logistics stuff, because I think that's not the most interesting part that I want to talk about in this video. So I want to just jump into my experience. So okay, so going from the beginning, right? So the first day, we started learning this technique called Anapana, where you just focus on your breath, and then you focus on the sensations that are happening within this area. So like your nose and your upper lip, like this concentrated triangle area on your face, you want to focus on like all the sensations that are happening there as you're breathing. And you continue that for the second and third day as well. And each day, the area that you're focusing on gets smaller and smaller. And the purpose of this is to sharpen your awareness. So this whole thing is to develop the faculty for you to have like the sharp awareness that's necessary to actually practice the Vipassana technique. Now, I actually didn't realize that we weren't doing Vipassana yet when we were doing the first 3 days. Like, I don't know if I missed an instruction or something. Like before this retreat, I knew that Vipassana was like about observing the sensations. So like, since we were observing sensations here, I was like, okay, yeah, this is Vipassana, right? And so the whole time while I was doing that, I was like, oh, like, this is not that bad. Like, I just sit here and then, I'm just like observing these sensations, and yeah, like my mind gets distracted and stuff, but like in terms of the physical difficulty of doing this, it didn't feel that hard, right? And then because like when you're sitting there, you can like move your position. Like there's no other instructions given other than just focusing on what's happening here. And the main thing is you just want to focus on the sensation, because like you don't want to count, you don't want to be like focusing on a mantra or like an object or something, because that's something else that's going to make it easy for you to concentrate on your breathing. But the purpose is not to like sharpen your concentration. The purpose is to sharpen your awareness of the reality of what's actually happening, and that reality is the sensations. Like that is the reality of what's happening. So yeah, okay, so like first 3 days, I was like obviously just coming from the outside world, your mind is kind of like, full of stuff. So honestly, the first 3 days, my mind, like I could not, I don't know how to say this. Okay, basically, like the newest Taylor Swift album came out on October 3rd. And I was listening to that for like a couple days before this retreat. So the album came out October 3rd. This retreat started on October 8th. Between that, I only listened to the album like maybe 2 of those days. And for the entirety of like the beginning of this retreat, when I sat down to meditate, and also like during other parts of the day, like the songs in that album were like non-stop playing in my head. Like it would be in the background somewhere, and then maybe I would have like awareness about other things, but those songs were just continuously playing in the background of my head. And especially when I was meditating, I was just like so aware of this, and I was like, oh my goodness, like this is just non-stop, right? And it would just like jump from like one song to another song to another song at random. And I was like kind of frustrated because I'm like I can't focus, right? Like there's just Taylor Swift songs just playing nonstop. And I guess like it's crazy how it took so long for those songs to fade away from my head, because it's not just the first 3 days. For the most part, like it would come and go like after the third day, but it was crazy how it just like lasted that long in my mind. And I think that just goes to show how powerful your like unconscious mind is. Like I didn't even listen to the album that much. I just listened to it a couple days before the retreat, and then it was like non-stop for a big part of it. But anyways, okay, I got super sidetracked about the whole Taylor Swift thing that I forgot to mention my actual experience with Anapana. So over the days, my awareness did get sharper and sharper, and towards the end, it was so sharp that I could experience every subtle sensation. Like I can experience the nose hair moving and the hair on my upper lip moving. Like it became very, very sharp towards the end of the third day. So yeah, so I was like, okay, yeah, this is not that bad. First 3 days, sitting, like whatever. But then on the end of the third day, all right, so like each of the days in the evening, there's like a discourse, which is like kind of like a lecture given by the guy who founded the Vipassana course. So his name's Goenka, and he gives these like amazing like discourses. They're like so funny, so much like wisdom and insight in those discourses. Like I think these were my favorite part of the day, and also my favorite part of the retreat. I just feel like so many questions that I had about reality and how like human nature works and nature as a whole, like how everything works, like it was just broken down so clearly in those discourses. And I was like so like every time I listened to those, I was like sitting on the edge of my seat, like trying to absorb everything he said. And the thing is, like, we couldn't write anything down, right? So I was like, okay, I just need to like absorb all of this, like make sure it goes like deep into my subconscious so that I'll remember this when I come out. Okay, so anyways, at the end of the third day, so he's like saying like, okay, now you are ready to practice Vipassana tomorrow. And then I was like, what? Like this whole time we weren't even practicing Vipassana? So then I started getting like a little scared, because I'm like, oh, we haven't even started yet, right? And then the fourth day came, and it was kind of like a big deal, because they updated the bulletin board saying like, oh, it's Vipassana day. And we had a session of meditation in the afternoon where we were given the actual instructions for practicing Vipassana. And okay, so the whole time before that, we're focusing on this area of the face, right? And then in the actual first Vipassana meditation, we're sitting, then he's giving the instructions, and he's like, okay, focus on the tip of your head. Now feel the sensations there, right? And then start going like bit by bit, piece by piece, inch by inch down your scalp, and then your face, and then your neck, and then like your arms, like, or no, one arm at a time. Like it was very slow, right? Like just bit by bit, piece by piece, like essentially going down the entirety of your body, right? And by this point, when we got to like around the shoulder area, like the pain in my legs, so I was sitting cross-legged, the pain in there started really building up, right? Especially around my knees, and it was like so painful. But one of the main instructions is that you cannot move your position. So prior to this, on the first 3 days, we were allowed to like switch positions. There are no restrictions for that. But for the actual Vipassana technique, it's the sitting of strong determination. So you're not supposed to change your position. You need to keep your eyes closed so that you can like focus. And also, what was the other thing? There was something else. But yeah, basically like you just sit there, like, oh yeah, you can't leave the hall. Okay, but yeah, anyways, so you just sit there the entire time of the meditation session. And this one in particular was like a longer session, like I think an hour, 45 minutes or something. So like we just jumped from, oh, we're allowed to move and stuff, change our positions and only focusing on this area, to suddenly jumping to like sitting with no movement whatsoever. Like you can't even move your hands, like your hands need to stay wherever they are. And then you can't like uncross your legs, can't change position. And then you're changing your awareness to focus on the sensations here to your entire body, and you're going very slowly through each part of your body. And I was like, okay, like this is Vipassana, right? And I was like, oh, now I know, like now I get what people are saying by this is so painful, there's so much suffering, like whatever. Because by that point, by the time I was like here, like in my shoulder area, like my legs were dying, and I was like, oh my, that's when the reality hit me that we need to sit there for the rest of the like an hour and a half or something, and I couldn't move. And I was just like dreading getting to my legs, because I'm like, by the time I get to my legs, like I just know that's gonna be like 30 minutes later. And I was like, oh my goodness, I was like, can I do this? And then I was like, okay. I was like, it's okay, Janine. I'm like, this is what you signed up for. Like, this is the pain and suffering that you were like anticipating, and now you're finally experiencing it. And now it's like the test to see like how mentally tough you really are. And so I was really determined to like sit there and not move and just like, you know, get myself through the pain. But you know what? Like, it was actually not that bad, because by the time I actually got to my legs, like when I observed the sensations in my legs, what I realized is that it actually like relieved the pain a bit. So it was the anticipation of getting to my legs that was actually more painful, because I had this resistance, right, towards like the pain there. But then by the time I actually got to the pain and observed it, at that point, I was not resisting it, I was just observing it. Because, oh yeah, I forgot to say, like the whole point of the Vipassana technique, so there are two aspects to it. first is awareness. So you want to be like super aware of the sensations that are happening on the body. And then the second part is equanimity. So you want to remain equanimous to whatever sensation is happening, right? So you don't want to react to that sensation with any sort of aversion or craving if it's a pleasant sensation. Like if you react with aversion or craving, that's what's going to cause you to have like misery and suffering. But if you just remain equanimous, then you just like observe the sensations, and the idea is that like those sensations will pass, they will dissolve because of the fundamental nature of reality, which is impermanence. So that's like another big thing that was emphasized, is that everything is impermanent. And this is like the law of nature, right? And the thing is, everything that governs like nature in the outside world is the same thing that governs like the nature in your body, right? Like human nature, like the nature, you can observe that directly in your body through your direct experience, because whatever's outside, you can observe that, but you're not actually experiencing that directly. So you can't have like direct experience of like, just say, I don't know, this tree changing. You can observe it changing, but you just kind of like observe it from the outside. But when you're observing like your bodily sensations changing, like that is your direct experience, and that is what like gives you insight and wisdom into how nature works. So yeah, so I thought that was like super interesting, how like my anticipation of getting to the painful part, that resistance that was being created, like that was causing more pain in me, in my mind, than when I actually observed it. Because when I actually observed it, I was like just looking at it more objectively, like, oh, these are the sensations that are happening. And then yeah, okay, but like after, like during that first meditation session where I realized what Vipassana actually is, I was I was in so much pain that I was like thinking like, I don't think I've ever experienced this much pain in my life. And I've done some like physically hard things before, right? Like running very long distances and stuff. But I was there like, I think this is way more painful. And I was actually like, I think this is more painful than giving birth. Because yeah, I was just like, I don't think there's anything else in my life. It just felt like I was being stabbed, but it was like lasting for an hour and a half. And I was just like, okay, I'm like, if you can get through this, you can get through any other painful experience in your life, like physically painful. Like that's what I kept telling myself. I'm like, you just need to get through this. If you can get through this, everything else will be relatively less painful. So I persisted through, and towards the end of every meditation session, like Goenka, he starts this chanting. And then when I heard that chanting come up at the end of that particular session, I was like so relieved. I was like, oh my goodness. I just felt like the light at the end of the tunnel. Like it felt like when you're running a race and you can finally see the finish line, you're just like, oh, it's almost there. Like this is almost done. And then I was like, you can make it through this. You can make through this. And then when he finished his last like statement thing, I was like, oh, I was like so relieved. And then like, I think my body was in so much shock of like what was happening that I just like cried after, like not like big crying, but like I just teared up and I was like, oh my goodness. And usually I'm the first one out of the meditation hall because my seat is like right next to the door. But after this session, I was like the last one out because I could not move. Like it was so painful to uncross my legs, and I just had to sit there like processing what happened. And I was like, oh my goodness. I was like, that was like the hardest thing I've ever gone through in my entire life. Yeah, but then right after that session, we immediately had another 2-hour meditation session with like for the same technique. And I was like, all right, this time you're gonna sit through this even longer. And I was like so determined to sit through like the next one without moving, because I'm like, if you can do this, like I'm certain you can get through like anything else in your life. So basically like after that, and then after the following meditation session, every other session was much easier. Because all of the group sessions, they're actually only an hour long. So like every single group session after that, it was so much easier. Like I was so ready for each of those, because I'm like, an hour, I'm like, that's nothing, like compared to an hour, 45 minutes of that. And also the main thing is that my expectation changed, because before the first Vipassana sitting, I I wasn't expecting that, right? That's why I was like in so much shock. But then after that, I was kind of like expecting it to be hard. So that's why like every other subsequent session was not as hard as the first one. So yeah. And the main thing is that like throughout the sessions, your body sensations, like the pain that you experience, really does go away. Like it transforms. And that's the main thing, is that like what's happening during this whole process when you're feeling those sensations, especially the painful ones, and you're just observing them equanimously, is that you're not reacting to them, right? When you don't react to them, you observe the nature of those sensations and you see how it will naturally change into another sensation. So like this pain that you're feeling will naturally change into something else, maybe like no pain anymore. And that's what happened for like many parts of my body that were initially painful. The pain just eventually went away. And like in later sessions, like when I sat down, like my body just felt so soft. Like it felt like I was sinking into like a cloud or like a really warm couch or something, but it was like my body, like it just felt like very soft, very, very soft, like not tense, not rigid. Yeah, like this word kept coming up, like luxuriating. Like it felt like I was luxuriating in like sitting in my body. Like it just felt so comfortable. It's so like soft. I don't know how to explain it, but like my muscles felt really soft. It felt like I like went through like a really great massage or something. Like by the end of the retreat, I felt like I came out of a massage, and which is crazy, right? Because you spend all this time sitting. But you know what? I actually felt like better at the end of the retreat in terms of like my muscles compared to like actual massages that I got in the past. So, and what's crazy is that like sometimes when I'm sitting, I'll feel a pain, and then with my consciousness, when I like focus on that pain, it actually like relieves it. So it feels like I'm like massaging that pain with my brain, which is like really, really interesting to experience. Okay, so there's these things called like gross sensations, which are like the more obvious, intense sensations that you feel, like just say like a pain on your back or something. But then there are also like subtle sensations. So everywhere in your body, there is sensation. And the main thing is that in the beginning, you're not aware that there are sensations in some parts, right? Those are like kind of like blind spots. But throughout these sessions, you sharpen that awareness, and then you become aware of every subtle sensation in your body. So like in the later meditation sessions, you then feel like every single part of your body vibrating. And then you can do this thing which is called like free flow. Like when you're scanning your body, you can kind of like sweep that entire area. Like you can sweep your arms simultaneously, and you just feel like this free flow of sensations, like very subtle, pleasant sensations that just kind of like rush through your body. And when you can do that for your entire body, that's like a really amazing experience. It's like your body just feels like tingling like all over, and it feels very like light and free flowing. And this is interesting because I was talking to my mom about this, and she's very knowledgeable about like Chinese medicine concepts, and she was saying like, oh, this is like your chi is like free to flow through your body. And anytime there's like a pain, that's like a blockage of the chi, like the energy flow in your body. So when you have like the blockage, that's when like a lot of physical manifestations of like health issues, like pains, whatever, come up. But when you have the no blockage, like the complete flow, like that's when those like health issues go away. And I think this is like very aligned and consistent with the theory or like the experiences that people go through in this Vipassana retreat, because like essentially the entire like idea is that the physical sensations on your body is a like direct manifestation of your mental reactions. So anytime you react to something, that gets stored in your body somewhere. Like it gets stored in your subconscious, and your subconscious like manifests itself in parts of the body. So when you have these like pains, it's somehow connected to like what's in your subconscious. So when you're sitting, you're doing the Vipassana technique, like these pains will come up, but when you don't react to those and you just observe them equanimously and let them go, like they will naturally dissolve. That is also like relieving your mental sufferings. That's why a lot of people, like after the end of the retreat, they feel so light, like both physically and mentally, and they feel like a lot happier and like a lot less miserable, because a lot of those like mental sufferings that were stored deep in their subconscious get relieved. And like this entire course, like Goenka said, it's like a deep surgical operation of the mind. So you're going straight to the root cause of all of your pains and sufferings. And like where that occurs is in the unconscious mind. So you're doing like a deep surgical operation of the unconscious mind and changing the habit pattern of what happens there. And the actual habit pattern is actually the entire like reaction process. So he talks about there are 4 layers of the mind. The first is cognizing. So like anytime something happens between the external world and you, like there's a part that observes it, right? So that's like the cognizing. And then there's the recognizing. So then there's a part of you that recognizes what this is. And then that will create a sensation in the body. So that's the third part, the sensation. And then there's the reaction to that. So whatever the sensation is, there's like a reaction, either a craving or an aversion to that sensation. And all of this happens super quick. Like you don't even notice it, right? Like it just, something happens outside, immediately you like observe it, recognize it, a sensation comes, and then you react to that. So like that's fundamentally like what's happening. That's the mechanism of like everything. And the reaction part, that's what ultimately determines whether or not you're feeling like miserable or not. And the thing is, so this technique, I don't think I mentioned, but this technique is the technique that the Buddha discovered and is what led to him being enlightened. So it led to like his enlightenment, right? And what he discovered was this mechanism. And then he realized like, at what point in here can we kind of intercept it, like consciously intercept it and change that pattern? And what he discovered, it's at the sensation level. So when you observe the sensation, like you can control your reaction to that sensation that happens. And based on your reaction, like if you can like change that habit pattern, then like in the future, you will then like not have that reaction. And the reason why we focus on sensations is because the sensation is the bridge between external events and your mental reaction, right? Like as I mentioned earlier, through the 4 layers of mind. So the sensation, like usually you think like, oh, you focus on your thoughts. But the thing is, when you focus on your thoughts, that's more of like an after effect that happens, right? But what actually occurs first is the sensation. So like that's why the sensation, like focusing on sensation is so effective here, because this is totally at the unconscious level, right? Many times you're not even aware that it's happening. And also many times you can feel sensations and not even know why. Like you don't have the conscious thoughts associated with it, but you're like, oh, why do I feel so tense or a bit anxious? Like it's something in your subconscious mind that's like making you feel that way, and you're not even aware of it. So that's why like this technique is so effective, because you're going straight to the root of the problem of all of your sufferings, which is at the sensation level. And that is like very connected to the subconscious mind. And when you're addressing your actual like reaction pattern at that level, that's totally like changing the subconscious mind. And when you're, letting go of these reactions and you remain equanimous, you will feel like very, peaceful. But then more like of those past reactions will surface from the subconscious, right? Just naturally they will surface. And then you now need to like control the reaction to those. And the more you continue doing that, the more and more you kind of relieve yourself of all of those past built up reaction patterns. It's kind of like if someone triggers you now and just say you get angry, if this time you don't get angry, but all the previous times you reacted in an angry way, that's still stored in your subconscious, right? So that will still come up, but each time you don't react, then over time that will naturally fade. Like that entire reaction will naturally fade, and then there will come a point where now when someone triggers you, you no longer react at all, because you just like kind of let go of all of that. So, but like this is obviously a really long process, right? It may not happen in 10 days, most likely not, because these are so like deeply ingrained in you. But this is like the path, right, of like how to kind of like liberate yourself of a lot of those like long seated patterns. So yeah, okay, that was a lot of talking. Let me drink some water. Okay, so I kind of went on a tangent, but basically going back to the actual like 10-day experience. So I think it was around day 7, day 7 in the evening meditation session. That was the first time I experienced like a lot of like free flow sensations throughout my body. And that was like a really nice experience that I was like, oh, I just felt so good after. But then the following days, so day 8, day 9, I like didn't get to that same state again, because like other pains came up like in my back and stuff that was like very distracting. And I think like at that point I was kind of just like I don't want to say I gave up, but I was already satisfied with the fact that I experienced that free flow on day 7, that I was kind of just like okay with whatever came afterwards. I'm like, it's okay. Like if I don't like, you know, achieve anything special, then it's fine, because I'm like really happy that I already experienced this free flow thing. And I don't remember having any particularly interesting experiences on day 8 and 9. But then I think maybe because I had let go of all expectations of achieving anything special, that on day 10, so day 10 in the like one of the later meditation sessions, that's when I experienced the thing that I mentioned earlier, where when I sat down, like my entire body just felt so soft, like so malleable, so soft. Like I felt like I could sit there forever and just like sink in this soft feeling. And even after, when I left the retreat, when I sat in the car, I was like, oh, I just feel so soft. Like I could sit for like long hours driving and just feel like it's okay. Like there's no pain that's building up. It just felt like everything was so soft. And the crazy thing is, so you know, like when you cross your legs, your muscle kind of goes numb, and then when you stand up, you have the whole like pins and needles feeling, and you can't really walk. So I thought that I was going to have that, because like when I was crossing my legs earlier in the beginning, I felt the numbness, right? But then like at the end of the meditation session, I thought that when I opened my legs, there were like, it would be all pins and needles and I couldn't walk. But then what actually happened was, when I uncrossed my legs, like I was fine. I just got up and I could walk totally fine. And I was like, wow, like the numbness just totally went away. Like after a certain point, it's like the numbness just dissolves. And I was so amazed that it was like not numb at all, when usually I am very numb after I uncross my legs for a long time. So it's just so amazing how the human body works. But okay, let me see if I'm missing anything, because I went on like so many tangents. Okay, so I think like one of the main takeaways from this retreat is how deeply connected the physical pain is to mental pain. Like initially it doesn't seem very connected, right? Like it just feels like, oh, I'm experiencing these pains because I'm sitting in this particular posture for so long. Like, isn't that natural that those, like my muscles would hurt? But then it became more clear after the 10th day. So on the 10th day, like later in the morning, we're allowed to talk again. So that's when the silence is broken. And I like talked and shared a lot about like the experiences with the other people at the course. And oh man, like the more and more people you talk to, the more you realize like how deeply correlated the physical pain is with the mental pain. Like there's this one girl, she's actually one of my roommates. She, like, we shared a room. There's like dividers and stuff in the room. But yeah, so she was in my room, and throughout the session, it's so interesting because like you see these people like every single day. You see them from morning till night, and you observe them, right? Like I've never spoken a word to these people, most of these people, but you come to like learn a lot about them just through like observing them, interacting with them. Yeah, it's actually really interesting. Like I think one of my other main takeaways from this is like how human connection does not need any words. because there are, okay, sorry, this is like totally a tangent, but there's like so many like ways that you feel connected to people without even talking to them. Like for example, like every day I sat with the same people to eat, and also like when I go out to walk, so we're allowed to like go out to walk during the retreat, during our breaks, and you know, you see the same people and then you just feel such an appreciation for these people. Like when you're seeing them look out into the distance for so long, you're just like, oh, like, you know, you just feel like connected to these people, and you just feel so, like, I just felt so fond of like so many people without ever talking to them. And okay, so anyways, going back to this girl, so we would like, so in the evening after the evening meditation, we went to the same washroom to like brush our teeth and stuff, and every time she looked so rushed. Like I could tell that she's a very like naturally like stressed, intense kind of person. Sorry, not intense, like a tense kind of person, and also like kind of like rushed and easily stressed, because when she was like washing her face, brushing her teeth, she was like so quick and her movements were like so like sharp that I was like, oh, okay, she's like probably very impatient, that just wants to go to sleep, she's probably really tired. But yeah, so I was like, you know, a little scared of her, but not really, but yeah, I was just like, okay, like this, like you can tell like she's like a more tense person. And then on the last day when we could talk, so I was talking to her and she was saying how, so during like most of the course, she would be sitting there and then she would be like, she would, after the end of the sessions, she would see people like crying and she would be like, why are people crying? Like, what is there to cry about? Like she just like didn't relate at all, and she didn't understand why people were crying. She's like, we're just sitting here. But then on the last day, or like the second last day, at the end of this meditation, she said how like at the end she just completely started bawling, like crying for 2 hours straight. Like she couldn't leave the meditation hall because she was just like crying for 2 hours. And she said how like it just shocked her so much that she realized that like, wow, there's probably so much that she was suppressing. Because she said how during the meditation, every single part of her body was in so much pain. Like she said, she couldn't move an inch during her like Vipassana meditation without there being an intense pain in every single part of her body, every single part. And she said how when she started crying, like the 2 hour crying, she felt like so much better. And then when she told me this, I asked her, when was the last time you cried? And she said, oh, like so many years ago, right? Like it's been at least like so many years. And I was like, oh my goodness. I was like, no wonder, right? Like for me, like I cry all the time. Like, okay, maybe not all the time, but like I cry like at least like, you know, at least many times a year, right? But this girl, she didn't cry for many years, and I was like, no wonder. She just, because she said how she realized she actually suppressed so much of those emotions, like so many things she had suppressed them, and she had no idea that she suppressed them. Because, you know, when during the meditation for most of the course, she was like confused, like why are people crying, like what is there to cry about? But then it took like so long, like so many days for that part, like those deep buried things in her subconscious to raise itself to the surface, to be released in that way. And then at the end of the retreat, she just looked so light, so happy, so joyful. Like yeah, talking to her is like completely different energy. Like she was like so bubbly, so happy. Like they're totally not the same person I experienced in the beginning, right? And so I was like, wow, like it's real. Like the pain that you feel, if you're in a lot of intense pain, like maybe, you know, you need to investigate like what's in your mind, like, and maybe it will take like, you know, many layers of your subconscious to realize what's happening. And okay, there was also like this other lady that I talked to on the last day. So she was like this older like Asian lady. She looked so wise, and so I was like, I really wanted to talk to her to learn about her experience. And she told me how this was her like 6th or 7th retreat. So she had attended many courses previously, right? And I asked her like what was different about this one, and she said how in all of her previous ones there was a lot of like pain that came up, right? Like a lot of physical pain, a lot of like mental pains that came up. But this time there was a lot of pleasant like happy memories that came up. And So it was kind of like the craving part that she had to let go of. So previously it was like the aversion part that she had to like remain equanimous about, but this time it was like the craving of those like happy memories, pleasant sensations that she had to kind of remain equanimous about. Something that she told me that like really resonated with me. So I guess like during this course, you kind of like clear a lot of things from your mind, right? And I guess in the previous one, she had kind of like already cleared out a lot of those like painful things in her unconscious, but then this time there was like those pleasant things. And the more and more you clear out, the deeper and deeper things from your unconscious rise to the surface. And she said this time, like in the early morning, you know, when you're in that state between like you're like half unconscious, half conscious, like you haven't fully woken up yet, like that's when that's like the same state, I guess, when you're like deep in meditation. Like that's when a lot of things like deep in you can arise. And she was saying how there was like a memory that surfaced for her from her past life. And like they kind of talk about this in the course as well, how like the Buddha, when he was in that meditation sitting where he had enlightenment, like he's just saw so clearly all of his past lives, and how like in each life he was like running towards death. Like you're born and then you live the life and you're basically just like going towards death. And he just had all of these memories so clearly come up about all of his past lives. And so when this lady was saying how like there was like a scenery, like a memory that came up from her past life, and she just saw it so clearly, and it was like such a beautiful scenery, that just resonated with me so much. I think because I can kind of relate to this, where there was this one time where when I was kind of also in that half waking up stage, there was like a memory deep in my mind from when I was like around 12 or 13. And it was a thought that I had at that age about my current age, like about what I thought my life would be like at my current age. And that thought just like randomly surfaced one morning when I was in that like half conscious state, and I instantly recognized it as a real thought that I had when I was a kid. And I was like so shocked, because I was like, oh, like I would have never thought I would have remembered that. Like how can you possibly remember such a specific thoughts when it was like never documented? But it came up, and I knew it was real. And that's why like when this lady was saying how that memory from her past life came up, I just believed her, right? I was like, because I asked her, I'm like, oh, how do you know if it's like a real memory versus like you're kind of just imagining it? And she said, oh, you will know, like you will know, right? And you're the only one who will know. So I was like, okay, I get what she means. Like you know, right? And that's why, like, you know, going back to what I mentioned earlier in this video about how what's true for you is not necessarily what's true for someone else. Your truth is what you experience. So it's kind of like intuition. Like if you have such a strong conviction about something, if you explain it to someone else may like hear that and be like, oh, that doesn't make any sense, like blah blah blah. But then you know it's right. And I think that's the thing. It's like what you experience is true for you, but it's not necessarily going to be true for someone else. And so that's why everyone has their own like truth based on their own experience. It also makes me like not judge other people, and kind of just like respect how everyone has their own truths based on their own experience. And I think that makes sense. Like, it's like why some people feel so strongly about like a certain faith or like religion, because that's true for them. Like that has, you know, directly affected them and their experience of reality. But it's not necessarily that like faith or religion is going to be the same for other people, because other people may have experienced like a different reality through like something else. So that's why it's like, you know, there is no right or wrong. Like everything is true for everyone just based on their own experience of it. And something else that I thought was like super interesting after the last day was that like your perception of other people is, and like reality outside of you is like totally not necessarily the actual reality of the situation. Because like when you're sitting there meditating and all these things are going on inside of you, and you're just like, oh man, like look at all these other people around me, they're sitting there so peacefully, they're all like, you know, doing the task, doing their assignment of like, you know, this meditation, they're probably like doing it properly. I'm just thinking like, oh, like I'm just like so distracted, or like I'm feeling this pain, that pain, whatever. But on the last day, after I talked to everyone, it's just so funny because everyone is like saying how painful or how much was like going on inside of them that was like totally not what it looked like on the outside. Like on the outside, everyone looked like they're in peace, right? They're like, oh, like just sitting there, not moving. Everyone looked like they're having a peaceful time. But inside everyone is like a total like chaos. Like people are like, oh, like every part of my body was hurting. This one girl was saying how like there was this part of her shoulder that was painful the entire retreat, even when she was not meditating, just like doing anything, it was just constantly in pain. And it's funny because like during the breaks, like the walks, I would like pass her and you know, everyone looks so peaceful. You're just like, yeah, everyone's kind of just like in their own world, look like they're like pretty chill, pretty at peace. But no, like you had no idea that some people are just like in pain the entire time. And people are saying how like, oh yeah, their brain is just like thinking about this, thinking about that, ruminating about this. It's like the reality of like what like I thought other people were going through is like totally not what they were actually going through. And so I think this just applies to life in general, right? Like when you're in a situation you think, okay, everyone else knows what they're doing, I'm the only one who's just like a bit lost. It's like, no, like everyone, like you have no idea, like everyone they could be experiencing like way worse things than you, right? And so yeah, just like that was like very apparent to me by the end. There are so many other wisdoms that I really want to talk about. Like one being like when you understand this technique, you truly understand how misery and how happiness are created, like at the most fundamental level. And like I want to make a whole separate video about this because it's just so important. And another thing is about like how you don't have to react in any situation. Like I think that's a main insight from this, is that you really don't have to react. That part is totally in your control. And like by the end of this retreat, you really come to understand how like your experience in life is 100% in your control. Like it's 100% your responsibility for your own experience. Like I know it's easy to think like, oh no, it's like partly my responsibility and partly like whatever happens in the outside world. But I think if you truly understand this technique, you come to realize, no, it's 100% your responsibility. Even if you take like the most, you know, suffering situation, if you take like, I don't know, a monk and put them in that same situation, they will not be suffering. Like if you take like an enlightened person like Buddha and you put him in like, some people are like torturing him or whatever, it's like, he will not suffer. He really won't. Like he will feel the sensations, but he will not react in a way that creates suffering in him. And so I think like that's an extreme example, but it's the truth, is like true for all of us, right? Like anything that happens, no matter how much you may think objectively that it's a bad situation and you feel you should react negatively in that situation, but really the reaction part is totally in your control. Like you don't have to react. And I'm gonna make a separate video about this as well because there's so many other parts that I have to say about this. So yeah, I guess I just want to talk about like overall sentiments about this course and this experience. I did this retreat in the Montebello, Quebec location, and I went in like mid-October, so it was like peak fall during then. And so I honestly think that was like the perfect time to go because like during the retreat, you do get breaks, right? So like my favorite part of the day, well, one of my favorite parts was like going outside on a walk in the forest. Like they have this beautiful like deep forest thing that you can like, you know, walk through, and yeah, it's just so nice. And honestly, like some of my favorite memories from this entire experience wasn't even related to the meditation stuff at all. It was kind of like these really small moments of like, you know, seeing the moon early in the morning when I was on my walk, or like seeing the sunset in the evening walk, or just like looking at the fall trees and the leaves changing every day. I think I developed such a strong appreciation for nature by the end of this retreat, because like a big thing that we're taught in the retreat is like impermanence, right? How like everything is constantly changing, everything is impermanent. And this is like even more apparent during like the seasons like fall, right? Like every day those trees are changing. Even every minute, like when the wind blows, you see leaves falling, and it's just so amazing to observe that. And like after this retreat, I went to Ottawa because it was like nearby, and then I sat in this park, and there was this fall tree that was like so beautiful, like when I looked at it, I cried because it was like so beautiful. And the thing is, like, you can see it changing, right? Like I was sitting there maybe an hour and I saw the leaves changing. Like when the wind blew, like it just blew away a lot of leaves. And I was like, life is so beautiful, nature is so beautiful, like everything is constantly changing. And that's when I realized that like every moment is perfectly complete in and of itself, like in life, like every single moment, because every single moment can never be replicated again. This moment, if you take a snapshot of it, it may look the same as the next moment, but there is something subtle that has changed. And that means that this current moment can never be repeated again, right? And so I think like that makes me appreciate every moment. Like even if it's, painful, it's like this pain will never occur again in this exact same way with all of these circumstances all lined up at the same time, right? And so it makes me like really appreciate how impermanent every moment is, and how you just like need to, embrace it, anything that comes at the present moment, because you'll never get to have that moment ever again, like ever again. So yeah, like when good things happen, just enjoy it, but like don't cling on to it too much, because that's gonna eventually pass. And then when, uncomfortable, more painful moments come, it's like just also, you don't need to get too caught up in it because it's gonna pass. Like something that I really liked that the Goenka teacher said, he said, like, why react to something that's changing? Like if the nature of everything is that it's constantly changing, like why react to something that's already changing, right? And so I think like that just like makes so much sense. Like it's kind of like the saying like, oh, don't cry over spilled milk. Like I think I truly understand the wisdom there. It's like the milk spilled, yeah, why react to that? It's something that's already done, and the moment has already passed. And so like these things are so simple, you've heard them before probably, but when you really experience it directly, like you really come to understand these as insights and wisdoms for yourself. And yeah, so anyways, I think like another like really surprisingly like pleasant thing about this entire retreat experience that I didn't expect is the actual like friends and connections that I made out of this. Because like I thought that this would be like a very, solitary experience. You're like kind of doing your own thing in silence, but I didn't actually expect to like connect so well with other people, because like as I mentioned earlier, like you do build this connection to people even when you're not talking. And then on the last day, when you do get to talk to these people that you've become so like familiar with, but you've never spoken a word to, like when you finally do get to talk to them, it's just like a whole nother layer of like connection. And it's like you get to like share your stories and experiences that you went through during this very intense experience that kind of like bonded everyone. And yeah, I just think it was so nice. And I was like, wow, this is really nice how like you get to like make these connections. And the thing is, like, if you come back to the retreat, it's going to be a different set of people. And that's another thing about the impermanence of it all, right? It's like, I just feel so grateful that we got to, all cross paths here at this center at this particular time. And then we all moved on with our lives. And like, honestly, at the end, when, because I stayed at the retreat center a bit later, and like after most people had left already, I just felt this like really like bittersweet emotion of like, like this will never, occur again. Like everyone now moves on with their lives, and even if I come back to this exact center again, it's not going to be the same, because it's going to be a different set of people, maybe a different season, a different set of like volunteers, like everything's going to be different, right? And that's just the impermanence in nature. And I think it just makes it all the more beautiful that like, everything is impermanent. So yeah, just appreciate it as it happens. Anyways, yeah, so I really do want to like continue this meditation practice in my daily life, because like Goenka said how like he encourages us to meditate for like 1 hour in the morning, 1 hour in the evening. And although it does seem like 2 hours of your day like in your regular routine is like a big commitment, but he was saying how like it may seem like it's a big time commitment, but you actually like gain more time out of it, because when you meditate, you don't actually need as much sleep, because you're kind of like you know, recharging. I don't know, like Buddha, he only needed like 3 hours of sleep, and like monks, they don't sleep that much, like probably just 3 hours or something. And when we were there, I don't think we ever slept like a full 8 hours. Like it was just maybe 5 hours. Yeah, like you don't need as much sleep when you're meditating. And then also he was saying how like when you have this clarity, like when you do everything else in your life, it's going to be a lot more efficient. Like if there's problems that you need to deal with, you can just see it with so much more clarity and just like handle it with way less effort than if you know, didn't have this mental state. And also like meditating gives you a lot of energy, so you'll have like more energy to do like your other tasks and work in your daily life. So I think all of that was like pretty convincing for me to just try to keep this up as a practice. So yeah, I really want to continue this and hopefully do another retreat again in the future. If you're interested in doing this retreat, I highly recommend it because, like, first of all, this retreat is free. Like, it's entirely run on donation. So like, it's really accessible to anyone. Like, all you need to do is just make sure you can get to the center. And usually they, you know, provide carpool or like other ways to get there. But yeah, if you have the opportunity to go, like, I would definitely recommend it, especially if you're interested. And yeah. Oh, but the thing is, if you apply, you need to make sure you apply right when the registration opens, because this retreat, there's very high demand for it and there's obviously limited spots. So if you want to actually like guarantee that you get in, you want to apply right when they open. So I applied like right when they opened at 6 a.m. And like if you apply a few minutes later, like it's gonna be gone. Especially for the women's session, those are more likely to get full. So it's probably gonna be filled up. But if you get waitlisted, like there's also still a pretty good chance you can get in, because a lot of people they drop it or whatever. So yeah, but yeah, just make sure like you look at the application time and whatever if you're interested in applying, and just reply right when they open, because it is very, very high demand. Yeah, and I guess it makes sense why, because it's such a, you know, transformative experience for a lot of people. So yeah, I'll link below like the specific center I went to, because I thought that location was really great. I'll put some pictures up, because I took some pictures on the first day and also on the last day when we got our phones back. But yeah, it was like a really amazing center. It was quite big and it was in like a really good location. So I really like that center. And yeah, I think that's all I'm gonna say for this video, because this is kind of getting long. Yeah, I hope it made sense. I think I rambled a lot in this video, but yeah, this was my honest experience. Yeah, I feel like I may have missed a lot of things, but that's okay. I can just mention it in my follow-up videos if necessary. Okay, thanks so much for listening. Bye.